All right, today I'm going to cover ADQ, which is an emerging sovereign wealth fund, a sort of sister fund to Mubadala. And ADQ recently put out a prospectus. Now, a lot of these Gulf sovereign development funds or sovereign wealth funds, they raise capital, they use capital to lever their balance sheet to either increase the efficiency of their operations, to pursue acquisitions, just like any other business would. So I'm going to go over some interesting things that we found out in this prospectus. A few notes here for those not familiar with the United Arab Emirates and Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is the largest of the seven emirates, and it has most of the sovereign wealth. Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, ADQ, Mubadala, lots of pension funds and plans. Abu Dhabi Investment Council is within Mubadala, so lots of heavy investors that are there. So it's definitely a place to go because Dubai gets all of the kind of credit. Let's go over and let's look at this. Uh, it gives detail on about the sovereign wealth fund, about ADQ. Okay, so it was formed in 2018 and manages a diversified portfolio of companies grouped into clusters which are aligned with Abu Dhabi's economic vision and the government's strategic priorities. Kind of similar to what Mubadala does, right? They each tackle different sectors of the economy in that particular Emirati. Abu Dhabi's portfolio companies provide essential product services in Abu Dhabi beyond. Um, let's see here. ADQ is a key partner of the government. Let's kind of scroll down here. So basically, a lot of the similarities that I've seen with Mubadala. In December, as of December 31st, 2023, the Abu Dhabi government contributed capital to ADQ of 287 billion dirham, principally in the form of ownership units in companies and loan assets, as well as 144 billion in the form of funding for ADQ to make equity investments in various entities. So ADQ has been active buying companies within the United Arab Emirates, also buying companies within Europe and other parts of the world in certain areas, whether it's fruit companies, pharmaceutical companies. There was the recent big deal in Egypt buying land rights on the northern coast of Egypt to develop that land, which is about to expand the Nile River. Um, Part of ADQ's mandate is to drive its portfolio companies, particularly those that receive government subsidies at the time of their transfer to ADQ, to a point where they're self-sufficient. So nurturing these enterprises. We can even look back at Temasek Holdings, right? Temasek Holdings was this very small entity back then, and it went through different stages, right? Nurturing these state-linked companies and then transforming them into kind of national champions and then selling them off, and then taking those proceeds and diversifying the portfolio completely, right? So this is just in a different part. ADQ is in a different part. ADQ believes that the government views its indirect stake in ADQ as a long-term investment. So let's look at the details of ADQ, and we can see here that the capitalization of the group. I'm going to go into looking at the group total, right? So 720, let's see, 720 million dirham is the total assets. And you can look here, it was restated in 2022. Not a very slight change there, but it grew dramatically, the asset base did. And you can look at in 2023, they disposed assets held for disposal. It's quite a big number here. Cash and bank balances have been quite stable. Let's see the thing that pops up that's really unique here. We could also look at, let's look at their loans and borrowing. So that's been quite stable there. Deferred government grants. So their total equity has grown and total liabilities. So the liabilities have stayed quite stable while the equity has increased here. So let's kind of dig deeper into here. And let's look at revenue. So for some sovereign wealth funds, they're primarily endowment, right? You have ADIA, Kuwait Investment Authority, And this sovereign wealth fund is more run like a company, right? That has multiple divisions and segments. So you'll see revenue up here, and then operating profit. Okay. So labor costs have been stable here. So nothing really out of the ordinary, making a bit more money, more operating profit. Let's kind of scroll down here. So again, there's three strategic pillars in ADQ, Abu Dhabi Development. ADQ is a short name of it. There's the building clusters, where ADQ seeks to build thriving economic clusters that align with Abu Dhabi's policy objectives and accelerate the transformation of Abu Dhabi, right, into a knowledge-based economy. So taking that oil revenue and diversifying it into IT, more of a technical-based economy, right? So that's why they have these building clusters. And I'll go into that into more detail as I scroll down here. Also, portfolio management. ADQ prioritizes the growth and development of its assets, including assets transferred to it by the Abu Dhabi government and newly created or acquired assets, and accelerate the transformation of each business through mergers and acquisitions, joint ventures, and other initiatives. And lastly is delivering strategic government initiatives. As a strategic partner for the Abu Dhabi government, ADQ provides rapid and quality execution of key initiatives of nationwide importance to help deliver Abu Dhabi's economic and social priorities in areas such as supply chain security and sovereign investment partnerships. So ADQ wants to do business with the world. They are looking for other sovereign wealth funds to partake in investments. They're looking for deal flow. They're looking to acquire companies that would improve Abu Dhabi as itself. That's why I just mentioned earlier on this video about that fruit company out of Cyprus, that's headquartered out of Cyprus, right? How to secure that supply chain for the citizens of that Emirates. In line with this mandate, ADQs are country in Abu Dhabi. There's 4 priority clusters, right? So we're looking at energy and utilities. This cluster manages a portfolio spanning the energy and utilities value chain. There's TAQA, an Abu Dhabi-based integrated power and desalinated water utilities company, and its wholly owned subsidiaries, which is EWEC, the sole procurer of water and electricity in Abu Dhabi. There's ENEC, an Abu Dhabi-based company owning and operating the UAE's first nuclear energy plant. There's SWS Holding, which is a sustainable water company, and Tadweer, which is the waste garbage company. So that's a very important part. There's also the transport and logistics area, which goes into EAG, cargo airplanes, ADQ aviation. There's Wizz Air Abu Dhabi, a joint venture. We also have the healthcare and life sciences area, so pharmaceuticals, getting them within Abu Dhabi, as well as having Abu Dhabi be a place where they can test things out and increase that knowledge-based economy. And lastly, I mentioned is food and agriculture. This is a desert, right? Food is very important. There's Agthea Group, which manufactures and sells food and beverage products. I believe those dates. Salal Food and Technology, the source of distribution of food. Earlier, there was a deal with Louis Dreyfus and Al Dara. Okay. There's also emerging clusters that ADQ wants to tackle. So those are the 4 main ones. There's 3 ones that are interesting for ADQ. One is manufacturing, 2 is tourism and entertainment, and lastly, it's real estate and financial services. These are areas that every kind of region of the world wants to focus on, but ADQ has those top 4: energy and utilities, transport and logistics, healthcare and life sciences, food and ag. In addition, ADQ wants to develop its money management industry, right? As you know, Adia and other Mubadala has programs where if you incorporate in Abu Dhabi, they're more inclined to maybe give you a mandate. Again, it's not a guaranteed thing, but that's why you see a lot of large asset management houses incorporating or having an office at the Abu Dhabi financial centers, right? And that practice is common along many of the city-state economies. You have Singapore doing a very similar thing in Malaysia, in Seoul, in Japan, etc. So there are these types of programs where they want to lure and generate not just a financial services of insurance companies, but an investment management industry within that area. And I'll go into more of that with Lunate, which is a spinoff of ADQ. Let's see here. Go down here. So yeah, I mentioned earlier the acquisition of Unifruti is basically the company's engaged in producing and exporting fresh fruit to international markets. And ADQ bought 75% of that company. The deal closed in 2023. Noatum, which was purchased by AD Ports Group, which is part of ADQ. EAJ, which is a merger there. We can scroll down here and also look at how ADQ also bought Asino, which is a pharmaceutical company based out of Switzerland, and BMG, a contract development and manufacturing organization. Okay, and then as ADQ does, it'll look at its portfolio, it'll sell assets, it'll buy assets. They sold some disposed shares of SEHA and Daman, as well as, let's see here, Pure Health. And then it goes into earlier deals. Louis Dreyfus was a really big deal. ADQ acquired a 45% interest in Louis Dreyfus, a major merchant and processor of ag foods. And that is a contributor to ADQ's bottom line. And then NMDC, it's a drilling company. All right. Also, they talked about geopolitical events here, right? You had the COVID-19 pandemic, which impacted everybody. And then the Russia's invasion of the Ukraine created volatility. Interestingly, these actions also resulted in immediate and significant increase in oil and gas prices, and prices remained higher in 2021 for almost all of 2022. Towards the end of 2022 and the first part of 2023, amendments to the sanctions on Russian and production announced by OPEC helped support oil prices. So the gold, silver, and wool funds indirectly benefited from Russia's invasion of the Ukraine because oil prices went high. So that helped fill the coffers of those economies. So higher energy prices indirectly impact the Gulf economies. However, the group's financial exposure to Russia and Ukraine was not material. Okay, I know that Mubadala had some partnerships with the Russia Direct Investment Company, RDIF, which is in Moscow, and Obama has an office in Moscow. So the UAE is sort of in the middle of everything, right? You have them reaching out to China, Russia, but then the U.S. presence. And like I said, it's a juggling act, right? You don't want to alienate all these different world powers. So very fascinating to look at that. Here is something that, okay, if you are a fund manager looking to raise money in the Middle East, look at Lunate, okay? On the 1st of January of 2024, a long-term separate managed account agreement was signed between ADQ and Lunate Capital Limited. Lunate is a new partner-led independent global alternative investment manager, and it's regulated by Abu Dhabi Global Market, ADGM. Right, that's where a lot of the fund managers and accounting firms and law firms will have an office in that complex. Lunate, among other things, Lunate manages certain holding vehicles that were previously owned by ADQ and its wholly owned subsidiaries. These holding vehicles are described below. Let's see here. ADQ made an irrevocable commitment to invest in Lunate managed funds from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2038, so beyond Vision 2030. Subject to certain conditions of the deployment, they will, Lunate base commitment includes amounts of $20.5 billion to satisfy the unfunded portion to the legacy investments, and an additional $26.6 billion for new capital commitments over the period to December 31st, 2038. $26.6 billion. So if you are a credit fund, a private credit fund, a growth equity fund in the U.S., Europe, look at this, $26.6 billion. And that number could increase, right, depending on the price of oil and gas or what other assets that ADQ will acquire. $26.6 billion. So lots of possibilities there. Another reason why Again, a lot of the focus is on private wealth and family offices, but Abu Dhabi is a region that the alternative asset management community needs to really look at, and they have already been doing it. But if you are new to the game, look at that. ADQ has agreed that 70% of all distributions to be received by ADQ from Lunate managed funds in the period of may be reinvested by Lunate on ADQ's behalf. So that number could be a lot higher. The recycling of capital as these funds get distributed, the cash comes in, they're looking to deploy more capital. ADQ will pay agreed fees to Lunate. The Lunate SMA also makes provisions for special investments, being any investment which ADQ and Lunate agree to designate as such. Special investments are funded separately by ADQ, and ADQ retains the ability to directly dispose of these investments. ADQ also retains discretion to participate in co-investment opportunities, which are to be separately funded by ADQ. Very common. I mean, it's almost just like a typical agreement that Audio would do with a large, U.S. private equity fund. The legacy investments comprise alternative investments across fund investment, co-investments, direct private equity, direct debt, managed account investments, and other similar investments. All right, so, and then ADQ's alternative investment teams were hired by Lunate. So it just moved people over from the ADQ department into Lunate. That already happened. Murtaza Hussain, ADQ's former CIO, is now one of the 3 managing co-partners. And we can go more into Lunate as we have stories written about that company. There's also profiles that we've created about Lunate. Another deal that happened during the whole was at the Paris Climate Change or the Climate Change Conference was that on February 2024, ADQ entered into a separately managed account agreement with Alterra Investment Management, Alternative Management Limited. Alterra is a climate-focused alternative investment manager owned by Lunate, and it was a $6.5 billion commitment to climate-related investments. So very interesting there. Also, ADQ, like Mubadala, has an interest in Egypt. Huge population, got some IMF loan money, but a population that is trying to regenerate itself. And ADQ and ADNEC invested in a suite of hotels within Egypt, name brand hotels. Also, this is actually a really big deal, and we can go more in this, is the Ras Al Hekma development rights. In February, ADQ has plans to invest $24 billion in Egypt by acquiring title to 170 million square meters of land in Ras Al Hekma, which is the northern coast of Egypt. So again, there's plans to divert some water there and create, make the Nile bigger and more opportunity for Egypt's growing population to feed the Middle East. And again, lots of other deals where they were moving things around, selling off assets, all there. Let's see here. Let's look at revenue for ADQ. We can look at energy and utilities is a big energy driver for the portfolio, right? You have stable utility income from the residents of Abu Dhabi, so that's generating lots of money there. And then there was a boost of transport and logistics revenue, but a decrease in healthcare. So healthcare definitely didn't do well in 2023, a huge decrease there. Food and ag increase. And again, as they acquire companies and they consolidate entities, this will also impact things too. Manufacturing remained consistent from 2022 to 2023. Tourism went up a little bit, but mostly healthcare got hit really bad. That is a big outlier there. Healthcare was a major change. It was a 70% drop in revenue by that segment. Let's see if there's an explanation of that. The decrease of 70.5% in revenue from healthcare was driven by the disposal of SEHA and Damon to Pure Health. Okay, so I misspoke. They didn't divest Pure Health. They sold SEA and Damon assets to Pure Health during 2022, and it made them an associate. So again, you can read this to get more detail on that. Okay, so definitely a decrease in there. So let's kind of go into, I'm going to skip here, government grants, as the government is the indirect shareholder of ADQ. ADQ evaluates the assistance to determine whether, here, let's see here. So there are government grants, much smaller than the loan amounts. Okay. Okay, here's the alternative investments reporting profit. So this was ADQ, was before the money went to Lunate. The alternative investments reporting segment recorded a loss of 1.492 billion in 2023 compared to a loss of 3.395 billion in 2022. This improvement was related to the annual marking to market of the group's long-term public and private alternative investments, now under management by Lunate. So it appears that ADQ had problems in their investments, and that's probably why they spun them out. So it's kind of covering over their losses right there. So that's fascinating to see that their private market investments didn't do so well in 2022. Let's see here. Okay, again, going more into their operations here. So yeah, I mean, looking at the assets of ADQ, it's almost reaching $200 billion. That's including debt, by the way, as of late 2023, at the end of 2023. So still not as far away from Mubadala. Let's see here. And they have financial assets. They invest in a lot of things. There's some listed shares, funds, and private companies, right? That's pretty standard here. Here are the bank credit facilities, as well as some of the subsidiaries have bonds. Taka has bonds. Okay, there's some bridge loans. Global medium-term notes. And the reserves. Interesting. Acquisition of financial investments. 45. Oh, wow. Okay. About 45. Here. Capital commitments, investment commitments. 3. These are now transferred to Lunate. So 71330 investment commitments. I'm going to see what that is by going here. Wow, about $20 billion in investment commitments. I should do it by this year. About $19 billion in investment commitments. So let's go back over here and let's look at that file. Interesting. Nuclear fuel purchase commitment, operating lease commitments. So definitely the investment part's pretty big, about $20 billion of investment commitments. Operating cash flow, net cash flow used for investing activities, and look at that, right? 20 billion, 20 billion. Changes in working capital, changing in investing activity. Third-party claims. There's some liabilities. Layers of credit. That's pretty common stuff. Looks like an arbitration with a contracting company right there. Small amount of money. Related party transactions. Okay. Credit risk management. interesting to see how they're how much money's in different currencies. Sterling, euro, obviously Egyptian pounds and lira are very small. But look at the Turkish lira. It got restated. That's kind of interesting. 176 versus 1 right there, and 80 millions. Yeah, they're going to want to buy a lot of swaps when they do business with Turkey and Egypt. Commodity price, okay. So there you have it. ADQ, Abu Dhabi Development Holding, the three clusters, building cluster, or the three pillars: building clusters, portfolio management, delivering strategic government initiatives. There's the 4 priority clusters and the 3 emerging clusters. And just to kind of give you a background on ADQ, formed in May 2008. It's incorporated for a term of 99 years, which will be automatically renewed for a similar term, unless it's dissolved, of course, with its Articles of Association, AOA. There's the address. Oh yeah, there's they also did a lot of joint ventures. I kind of want to go over some of these sovereign investment partnerships. I find really interesting, and this is something that a lot of sovereign wealth funds are doing, or they've been doing for well over a decade. But it's happening more now because, again, these are countries or strategic regions. Right? Abu Dhabi is part of the UAE. Let's kind of go through. First, there was a strategic partnership with the Sovereign Fund of Egypt in 2019 to advance Egypt's economic development in December of 2019. They signed an MOU to expand LIHL's operations in Egypt and acquired several shareholdings in several publicly listed companies in Egypt. So there is an interest for Abu Dhabi in Egypt. They did a sovereign risk partnership with the Turkey Wealth Fund, 300 million dirham venture capital fund to co-invest in high growth companies. Turkey does have a tech sector, Getter, GETIR, etc. Hellenic Development Bank, all right, up to 4 billion euro. In Greece, $100 million venture capital fund in Jordan, 30 billion dirham partnership with the Oman Investment Authority to facilitate investments in the Oman tech sector. More on Turkey with the earthquake relief financing bonds, Export Bank of Turkey. Another one on Kazakhstan within the Kazakhstan Investment Corporation. Another one at Azerbaijan Investment Holding Company. Interesting. So yeah, a lot of stuff in the region. The one that's outside would be, I guess, Greece, but that's all around the Middle East. Sovereign investment partnerships. Let's see here. I also want to explore Abu Dhabi Development Holding Companies, how they actually pick investments. I did read some of this, and one is I saw that there is the investment process. Okay. As an asset owner, the creation of shareholder value in the long term is ADQ's most important measure of success, both in terms of delivering monetary value to the government and delivering non-financial impact at scale for Abu Dhabi. So let's look at their investment process. All right. There's a 6-stage investment process. One is deal sourcing, using the expertise of its staff and networks to source compelling opportunities with Abu Dhabi and high growth markets around the world. So talking to consultants, talking to CEOs of companies, talking to their fund managers, right? Going to specific conferences or diplomatic meetings, right? So deal sourcing is paramount. 2 is preliminary evaluation, kind of getting the garbage out of the way. First off, are we going to lose money? How will it benefit Abu Dhabi, right? So there's a lot of people pitching all the time. A lot of it is garbage. And you need to make sure that, there's no fraud, like a lot of stuff that's out there. So identify its investment pipeline. ADQ applies a preliminary evaluation methodology covering the commercial hypothesis in addition to market positioning, opportunities, and risks, right? Reputational risk, geopolitical risk, etc. Then it goes into due diligence and deal structuring to validate the potential deals, financial, commercial, legal, tax, and technical due diligence is undertaken, followed by a review of the findings to build the investment case and determine the optimal transaction structure, debt, equity, through a fund, etc. Management committee appraisal, the investment case including risk return profile, critical success factors, transaction structure is submitted to ADQ's management committee for review and approval. Deal signing and closing, and then portfolio management, right? And this is very typical of just any kind of investment organization. The framework of ADQ's planning and investment process is approved by the board and is incorporated into a rolling 5-year business plan. Okay, that makes sense. ADQ may, from time to time, receive government funding for specific investments. To the extent that third-party debt funding is not available on acceptable terms, ADQ will reevaluate the viability of a project or investment, amongst other things. Okay. And how they divest through things here. Here's kind of something cool. Up to $500 million, ADQ's managing director and chief executive approval is required. Up to $500 million. Between $500 million to $1 billion, the vice chairman and ADQ's managing director, chief executive, or jointly the board. Above $1 billion to $3.67 billion gets more oversight, and above $3.67 billion, yeah, it's got to go to the government. So yeah, it's much more a higher threshold there. And again, here's stuff how they fund some of their investments, right? So very fascinating to read all this stuff and to see how stuff's broken out. And again, this is just going more into their different major priority clusters, right? Asset, energy, and utilities, and how much they own of each of that. So they pretty much own the wastewater, energy within Abu Dhabi. Here's the aviation part. Ports, healthcare and life sciences. And then food and ag. So Unifruit 75%, Louis Dreyfus 45%. That's the major food merchant there. Louis Dreyfus, founded in 1851. Grain traders. Okay. Let's see here. Stock exchange, 100%. So they own 100% of ADX, 31.5% of WEO Bank, and then financial services. Okay. And again, ADX is the stock exchange in Abu Dhabi. All right, so let's see about that, and then again, you can look at who's basically running the organization and where they're at. The chairman of ADQ is also chairman of First Abu Dhabi Bank and chairman of the Royal Group, which is a huge family holding company. Yeah. And you see the different people that work there. All right. Well, thank you for sticking with me. This is a little update on ADQ, Abu Dhabi Development. Thank you very much. Have a great day.